morning, everybody, and welcome to your sunrise safari. My name is Jamie Patterson, and on camera today is Wium. Wium has got a nasty cold, don't you, Wium?
I'm fine.
He says he's okay, everybody. As you can hear from my voice, I'm not really Jamie at all. I lost a bet last night, and now I have to wear this ridiculous hat for the duration of the drive.
Hello everyone, it's me. What a reveal that was.
Oh, you fooled me.
Yes, Wium thought he was driving with Jamie all morning. There we are. Now, you're on a live sunrise safari here from the midst of the Kruger National Park, the western fringes thereof. If you are not au fait with the reference I've just made to Jamie Patterson, that's because you're perhaps a new viewer, and you're most welcome especially, and I hope you have a good time with us over the next 3 hours. Please do talk to us over the next 3 hours, hashtags for our live, questions at wildearth.tv. I'm going to be driving today. Jamie's going to be on foot with Herbert and being filmed. Who's filming them? David or Bryan?
No, David.
Bryan or David? We don't know who's filming her. She'll tell you just now. Anyway, it's going to get a little bit lighter before she goes out, and then she'll be on foot finding the small things of the wild. You're most welcome. As I said, I know I've left out one or two things. It was the start, you see, that sort of addled my mind slightly. It's apparently 8 degrees Celsius, 48 degrees Fahrenheit. It feels like it's about minus 46, but it really isn't. It's just because we're a bunch of drips out here. But I'm very pleased for this. I've just seen myself in the screen. That's ridiculous. I'm very pleased for this ridiculous hat. And I think the name Skinny Pom Pom, which is, of course, is the name that we gave to Birmingham boy number 3 the other day. I say we, I mean me. I think, well, I might apply it to myself. All right, well, with the Skinny Pom Pom, we did have some leopard tracks this morning, quite fresh, but probably from last night. We think of Karula. She was around the camp yesterday evening. They seem to have headed off into the block here, so that's the general direction that we're going to take, and we might be lucky to find her, that she was without the cubs, and she was definitely at the Djuma Dam Pan, just as Fireside Chat ended yesterday evening at 6 o'clock. So these tracks are probably not that fresh, but they're not that old either. And maybe she's brought her babies back, maybe she hasn't. We're also going to drive down the western fringes of Djuma to see if we can't pick up Shadow and Zara, her little baby cub. Now, let's just... There's a little black bird on the top of that tree. And if I'm not deeply mistaken, just super zoom in. Ah, no, nothing unusual there. A fork-tailed drongo. I was mistaken. I'm not going to tell you what I thought it was. Okay, on we go. Let's just be quiet for 10 seconds. Just listen to the silence of this morning. Really is almost no sound at all. Just the odd bird, one or two. Beautiful. Well, it's got light enough apparently, and Jamie, while I'm wearing her hat playing her, is playing me in a tree.
Good morning, good morning. My name is James Hendry, and I'm going to climb every tree that I can possibly find, and also maybe fall out of it. Not that James in any way is infamous for his falling out of trees. He's only fallen out of one tree once. This is going to end badly. Oh! So yes, good morning and welcome to our sunrise bushwalk. And I just wanted to start off here because yesterday evening on the Fireside Chat, the whole setup was completely delayed due to elephants on quarantine. And what we've got here is the end, I would say, or the almost total end, of one massive and ancient silver clusterleaf tree on quarantine. And I think it is the end. There's not much left. The bark isn't really attached to the main stem of the tree anymore, which means that it's no longer going to continue to grow. And it's just an interesting insight into the fact that as the drought continues, and I'm a little bit out of breath because I nearly fell out of that tree, as the drought continues, our elephants are going to be targeting the trees more and more frequently. And quarantine could actually, depending on how long this drought actually lasts, quarantine could be a very, very different place. When we stopped here, Herbert took this branch that had been left behind by the elephants, and Herbert, of course, is always accompanying us. He stripped away the bark, and he's made the most awesome thing. Let me show you. So the elephants obviously made use of this before I do. There you go. Chewed up by the herd that was wandering around here. Look what Herbert made me. Got a bracelet. How cool is that? And he did that in about 5 minutes. Absolutely awesome. He's also been telling me about what you could do with silver cluster leaf leaves as we wander around here. Most of you know that if I were to offer Bryan one of these now, he definitely wouldn't be taking it. No, he's not going down that road again. I'm not going to chew on it because I know what happens, and it's too early in the morning for having a dry mouth syndrome. Very, very high in tannins. Now, we've spoken before about the fact that you can chew them and swallow them if you have an upset stomach or if you've got diarrhea. It might help to sort things out a little bit. But Herbert tells me there's actually another use for the silver cluster leaf leaf, and that's why it's named the silver cluster leaf, because of this amazing, almost light grey-green colour. Apparently what you do, if you are bitten by a snake, heaven forbid, what you do is you take the leaves and you crush them up a little bit and you stick them on the snake bite itself, and apparently it helps to suck out the venom before you go for actual treatment. Obviously don't use this and not go to hospital, but it is one of those traditional cures that has a lot of value to it, because if it's capable of, I'm not going to chew the whole thing, it's really revolting and it's too early in the morning, but if it's capable of doing this and taking away my saliva, then perhaps there is a dehydrating effect that it has around a snake bite. So an interesting little use of the silver cluster leaf that the elephants have been munching on. It's interesting that they've been eating it, because so James has found tracks for Karula. Herbert and I were just talking about what we might do. I think James probably told you that on our way back from Fireside, her right outside the final control. Those of you watching the Zoom camera at the same time, it's so cold. You would have known that there was a leopard while we were chat. She went and sort of wandered around the lodge. So what I think we're going to do is Herbert's probably, if he can't get hold of James on the Game Drive channel, and we will ask him where those tracks are, and maybe we can help him follow up. And while we do that, let's go back over to Mr. Henry and the pom-pom on his head.
Right, everybody, we're just reversing here because I know there is a favoured tree and termite mound here that Karula and her offspring Shadow like to spend a bit of time in. I don't see anything there though. It's that particular one there, sitting over there. I'm just going to retrieve my binoculars. What I meant. Ooh, and we've got some alarming grey go-away birds. Just look there quickly. I don't see any leopards there, do you, Wium?
Negative.
Not unless they are invisible leopards. In which case it's no good finding them anyway, is it? No. Alright, on we go. We're going to go down the western boundary. I'm just going to put my gloves back on. Wium has issued his balaclava for some reason. Are you going to put it on? No. No. No balaclava today for Wium. That's good. He does look slightly less terrified. Although his beard is very impressive. Just going to get hold of Herbert. Go ahead, Herbie. Herbie, we had tracks on Zoe's Road halfway to the Balanites tree. They headed off in I think in a westerly direction, but I could be wrong. I just would have expected her tracks to pop out over here. But I may be wrong. We'll drive around and see. Now this little road that we're coming up to here is the boundary between Juma, which is 1,250 hectares, roughly 3,000 acres, and Arathusa, which is about 850 hectares, roughly 2,000 acres. I feel a spectacular sunrise going on, but unfortunately I'm unsighted. Stand by. We'll try and get to a high point. As I just look at the road for twacks. Herbie's and Jamie going to come into this area and give us a bit of a hand, as is Taxon. So we have some good chances of finding these leopards. Well, we have a goodish chance of finding them. Of course, if a leopard doesn't wish to be found, it's very difficult to find it. So let's ease our way along the road here, looking into every tree, looking under every bush. And it's always very tempting to drive quite quickly and just see. It's very tempting to drive, sort of cover ground and see if you cover enough ground, then surely something will pop up. But as you know, it's so very easy to miss things. Right, Jamie has got a much better eastern-facing aspect. Let's go across to her and see the sunrise.
Have the most extraordinary sunrise happening here, and it also gives me a chance to introduce you to my cameraman as he brings you these beautiful shots, because we didn't do so earlier. Everybody, Bryan is on camera with me this morning, carrying the Bushwalk backpack and doing a marvellous job as always. Now I'm just going to take my earpiece out for a moment because Herbert's telling me something, and I think he's telling me there are alarm calls. So whilst it is wonderful to stand and watch the sunrise, Herbert is very much telling me it's time to be off. He's sort of doing this, cantering sideways along quarantine and then stopping to listen. So there's alarm calls somewhere. I can't hear them, but I've got an earpiece in my ear, and hearing that is not quite as sensitive as Herbert's is. So we're going to go and investigate what it is that is alarm calling. So James was speaking about the go-away birds and the way that they were giving that queen call. I'm just going to find out from Herbert. It's in exactly the right direction to be. It could be anything. It could be the lions that we heard calling last night. It could be Karula. It could be Tingana, because we haven't seen him in a very long time. And we're going to have to go and investigate further. Sounds like it's coming from the other side of Inge's house, towards Twin Dams Road. Oof. How are you feeling temperature-wise, Bryan? It's very nippy. And the thing about going out on bushwalk is you can't actually layer up completely. You've got to sort of keep yourself a little bit mobile. That applies both to Bryan and myself. At least we're moving and we're not driving, with wind chill factor. It should keep us a little bit warmer than perhaps James and Wium might be on this frosty morning. Not quite frosty. We've got no frost. I'm going to go find out what Herbert heard while I do that. As he canters ahead of me, let's go back across to James.
Cantering Herbert. Everybody, there's a very, very, very good picture there of a black-crowned chagra. Do you see it? It's in this Gymnosporia buxifolia bush. There it is. That's quite unusual, everyone. They're very secretive birds. There are also some waxbills, some blowswaces, wimpy. And a rattling cisticola. Oh, no, sorry, that's a grey-headed sparrow. He's a sweet fellow. Normally the first sound of the morning, the grey-headed sparrow. And you can see very nicely hidden there. You can hear a robin calling. There's a blue waxbill, looking around for seeds, ideally, but we'll take anything at this stage of the day. What else have we got? You can hear the waxbills going some drongos. And some parrots calling. Well spotted, Wium. There's another bird. And that's the chagra again. That's like a shrike, everybody. Chagra is very much, is a shrike. Ooh, and an emerald spotted wood dove. It's all happening here. There was this great plethora of animals yesterday during the competition, which I lost, which is why I'm now wearing this hat. There's the grey-headed sparrow. You can see it looks like a sparrow, Wium, with a grey head. You see that? That's why it's called a grey-headed sparrow. I'm surprised the ornithologists haven't got it into their heads to call it something else ridiculous. That's a particularly obvious name. And just on the top there, hopping about. Is that another drongo? It is not a drongo, everybody. It's a southern black tit. Just try and see what he's eating. Because he too is an insect eater by choice. But very few insects they're going to find now. I suppose they'd also eat those spiders. You know how many little spiders we found in the grass, in amongst the inflorescences, in amongst the trees like this? I guess these birds must be scrounging around for the last of those spiders. And you're going to have to scrounge for some time. That's a really good return, bird-wise. Just look behind us to see if a leopard hasn't walked out. No. Ooh, and look at that. That is spectacular. Orbs confirm it's active. So I was just asking Aubrey there, he's been to the hyena den, and apparently the female, the mother of the two little ones is there. No little ones at the moment. We might pop across there earlier. I just think they're quite nice prospects at the moment for potential leopard babies. So let's try that first, and then we'll go across to the hyena den a little bit later. What a glorious morning, very chilly. And Joey in Australia, you say that sparrow was number 116 on your list. Well, I'm very glad, Joey. I'm glad that the humble sparrow has added to your joy of the day. Certainly added to mine. Humble sparrow that it is. And we'll also try and get an update from the Arathusa groups. Hello, Michael. You are loving, or you say you love the sound of the woodland kingfisher and the sound that it makes. It goes, chipper, and you say, where are they? Why are you not hearing them? They're migratory birds, Michael. They're not just silent. They're not here at this stage of the year. They leave around the end of April, beginning of May, and they go off towards the central parts of Africa. Sort of just sub-Saharan Africa, around the Sahel and those regions there. And that's where they reside for the winter time. Morning. He, of course, has just seen this pom-pom on the top of my head and thought, what an idiot. I don't blame him. I would probably think the same thing. Now, we're going to just nip into Arathusa quickly and see if we can't pick up Shadow's tracks, and then we're going to come back around onto Juma. Wium, what are you looking so fervently for?
My one hand is freezing.
Your one hand is freezing. I'm not surprised. It's not warm out here, everybody, but that's one of the reasons we're having such a glorious, glorious sunrise. There is a dove, a humble dove. As I was telling you yesterday, I've managed to clock a humble dove doing not 170, just 70 kilometers an hour. Now, there's another bird in here, Wimpy. I think it was a firefinch. There. Just in front there, there's that peltiforum or weeping wattle. Ooh, and there. There, that's a better one. Yeah. No. It's there somewhere. There it is. To the right. It flew to the right. It's there on the dead bits. It's a very hoppy bird. This is serious camera work challenge, everyone. It's a firefinch. Here's another one. They're all over the place here. They just don't sit still for more than 3.5 seconds. Oh, that's a crombeck, everybody. Long-billed crombeck. I can hear something drilling away. Must be a woodpecker. Wonderful stuff, this. Hey? There, firefinch! Yes! Now, which firefinch was it, Wium? I don't know which one that was. We get 3, the Jamisons, the red-billed, and the African. I think. That's what they are. There we go. That is brilliant. That is almost impossible. What Wium is achieving now, everyone, is completely impossible. Blue-billed firefinch, that is. See the top of its beak? Very kind of, well, blue. Dark navy. Very cool. Now, I think Shadow was on this road earlier. Alright, I'm just going to get an update from... That is incredible. I'm just going to get an update from Arathusa here as to what's going on. You go across to Jamie and we'll sit a little bit longer with our little blue-billed firefinch.
I've taken a brief opportunity to stop and try and bask in the sun. We've been following the alarm calls with Herbert, which unfortunately have led us straight towards the Mawati river system. What that means is we've gone from the crest of quarantine downhill towards the Mawati, and it just gets colder with every single step we take. And we're trying to stop and warm up every now and again, although it's trying to choose between stopping in the sun and keep moving to try and keep warm. But just while we've been standing here, just look at the size of these thorns. Hand for scale. One of the acacias, probably a red thorn acacia, but it just gives you an idea. There's a common expression out here, Africa is not for sissies. This is a nice little example of why it's not. Everything out of defense mechanism against, and the fascinating thing, of course, is that it doesn't really work, does it? We see giraffe and elephant feeding off these trees all the time. I certainly wouldn't want to, because it's not really about your lips and your mouth, even though that's reinforced. But imagine sticking... Oh, no, I get the shivers just thinking about it. But imagine going near it with your eye. And that, of course, is why everything out here has such lovely eyelashes. From elephants to giraffe to the different antelope species. It's a really good way of protecting the eye as soon as it risks coming into contact with a thorn like this. Let's continue on. I'm sorry, Bryan. We think it might... Yes, I spoke to Herbert, and we've got really good news, is that, remember how we saw the mating pair with the lactating lioness? Well, she left tracks all over Gari Cutline, which is where we saw them, including tracks of the little ones playing in the road, and her tracks coming in and out of that drainage line. So she's around there somewhere. She is in that drainage line, hiding those little babies, and that is such an exciting prospect. I don't think we're going to go wandering in there. It's an interesting experience encountering a denning lioness. I don't think she'd be terribly impressed with us. But we do want to sort of do a little circuit of the area, see if we can't figure out, because we think that she might be the reason, oh my goodness, behind the alarm calls the temperature just dropped about 5 degrees. Cold air, of course, sinks and hot air rises. And we seem to have a problem here with cold air sinking. Oof. Joan in Washington, you were wondering, just while we are on Bushwalk, which is of course the perfect time to look at the littler things like the trees and the tracks and stuff that we don't always stop for, you wanted to know whether or not there are quiver trees in this area. I haven't found a quiver tree on Juma. I have to say, just in terms of the northern Sabi sands, the tree variety is not quite as pronounced as it is towards the river systems. So no quiver trees that I've encountered. That being said, if you walk along the river system, the Mulwati, which is where we're going now, you get all kinds of unusual trees. There's a snuff box tree in there somewhere. There's a couple of cassias. There's the one sausage tree in Philemon's Dip. You have to know the secret places of Djuma and the various areas that we drive around and walk around in, because you'll find all kinds of things. Luckily for us, we have had plenty of opportunity to get to know the various secret spots that we have out here. The one thing we can see is that we have tracks. It's just hyena at this point. I got all excited because I saw a little portion of a toe, but it's just hyena tracks that have been walking up and down this road. And they're very easy to tell with a hyena because they walk. Here's their tracks here. They'll walk with the front track sort of facing outward, and then the track that falls directly behind them faces in the opposite direction. So it kind of, if I draw an arrow, that's the way that the tracks sort of face, opposite to each other. And then when you get to the next foot, it will be the other way around. And that's a very easy way of identifying quickly the difference between looking at leopard tracks versus, or a cat track versus a hyena track. Because leopard tracks, instead of doing this, actually sort of are straight and straight, if that makes sense. So this is the front foot of the hyena, and this is the back foot. Leopards or lions don't have that very straight crosswalk, and that's of course because of the sloping back of the hyena. So they almost swing their back legs. And the reason why I stopped to look at this is just because there's lots of different hyena wandering around this road. So at some point last night, they've been walking about. Right, I'm going to go see if Herbert's managed to spot anything for us, see if we can't figure out what's causing the kudu alarm. While we do, over to James, who has something feathery.
We're having some amazing bird sightings here, everybody. There is a grey go-away bird, and there is a green pigeon there, an African green pigeon. This is around about where Shadow was yesterday, so we're going to have a look through here. Just to keep you posted, Sindile has been found. Everyone, not where we can go and view him. I think he's on Elephant Plains as far as I can work out, but he's got a kill, so he's doing very well. He's absolutely fine. That's a bit of a relief, to be honest, because of course we didn't know what was going to happen to him after his collar stopped pinging. Now, VMP, also in here, a number of parrots. You can hear them calling. There's one right here. It's one of the closest parrot sightings I've ever had. There. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? And look what it's eating. It's eating those combretum things, but just a little bit of them, and then dropping the rest. Look at him holding it. That is epic. I hate using that word, but in this case I absolutely have to agree that that's what it is. This is incredible, everyone. This is really incredible. He's eating combretum seeds. I think they're quite, I mean, I thought they were quite toxic, but clearly not for parrots. You can see another one crawling around there. You can hear their metallic call. Isn't that amazing? Gee whiz. I wonder why they're shouting, and I wondered if perhaps Shadow wasn't around here. And she might be, you know. This is so nice. This is really incredible. Zoe, you want to know what Wium's favourite bird is? Wium doesn't have any favourite birds. He doesn't like birds.
I got a favourite bird.
I'm obviously joking. Wium, what's your favourite bird?
Go-away bird.
The go-away bird. Really? Of all the birds out here, the go-away bird is your favourite?
Absolutely.
Not these parrots but that grey drab thing that goes quack.
Now you're discriminating against birds.
Yes, I am. It's absolutely correct, and I shall continue to do so. That's the best parrot sighting there's ever been, everyone. Parrot. Brown-headed parrot. Tony, I think you've just asked, I've got some fairly bad communications here on Arathusa. You say that how many birds are there in South Africa? Tony, there are at least 900 species of birds, and probably including the vagrants, 1,000. 1,000 species of bird occur in South Africa. I think that's pretty impressive for a little country like ours. Sean is just checking through here. Sean from Arathusa's into the area where she was yesterday. And apparently there was a little bit left of that monkey. I suspect quite strongly that they would have moved off during the course of the night. But let's find out and see. I don't see any tracks on the road here. Oh, and lots of you saying apparently the blue-billed firefinch, a new bird for your bird list. That's good stuff. I'm very glad. It's a difficult one to get on camera. I mean, we see them relatively commonly, but to get them on camera is not easy. Luckily, we have Wium with us. Without his balaclava, that's why he's so quick today, you see. Have you found her, Sean? Sean's just in here looking. He says he's got nothing yet. We'll just keep looking for the tracks. And I've definitely seen her. I'm going to send Sean out in front of us because he's got a tracker on the front of his vehicle, which means that the chances of him not or driving over tracks are smaller. You go for it. Okay, all right. Okay, I'll check around the signs. Okay. I'll go and check there. Okay. So quite often she does go straight across. You know where the signs are, where the Arathusa signs join on to the big main road. Quite often shadow goes down there, so we'll go and have a look there. And then I think we're probably going to go back towards Djuma because the chances of Karula being found, I think, are quite high. But that said, you know what I always say about that when you have lots of tracks in the morning? Quite frequently results in nothing. I don't think we've seen a mammal today, but we have seen many, many birds, including the greatest parrot sighting of all parrot sightings. Wium, I don't feel you were nearly excited enough about that parrot sighting. Were you overwhelmed with the amount of colour there was, given that your favourite bird has no colour on it at all?
Yes, but my favourite bird is very fluffy, it's got a crest.
Ah, it's fluffy and it's got a crest. Very nice.
I also like the babblers. I also like the babblers.
You also like babblers, because you're not much of a babbler yourself.
Nope.
Right. Oh, what a beautiful day. Aqua, a nice question from you. We're just going to listen here quickly. You say, do we ever see any off-course seabirds or wayward seabirds that have got lost? Wayward seabirds? No. The one interesting kind of bird that we do find here every so often. Ooh. We might have to head off to Cheetah Plains. It sounds like quarantine's there. The radio is going crazy in my ear, everyone, so I'm just going to keep listening. The interesting thing is that the one seabird, well, that I thought was a seabird, is something called a grey-headed gull that you find on the Highveld. You find them flying all over the place there, and it really is very odd to see a gull, but I thought they were wayward. They're not. They actually occur off here. I've never seen a wayward seabird here. You do sometimes get pelicans and that sort of thing which come up in very wet years. They'll fly through this sort of area. But I don't think I've ever seen an albatross knocking around the Kruger National Park. I've no doubt you'll find that there have been gulls and terns and that sort of thing that have been found in this area. There are also reports of cheetahs on cheetah plains, well, on Koro at the moment. We'll just keep an ear out for the radio. I don't see any shadow tracks here at all, and I don't think she's around here. I think she may well have done what Sean said and gone up towards Red Dam. In the meantime, however, let's go across to Jamie and get an update from her.
While we investigate the alarm calls, I'm just having a look through here. I'm looking for something that I saw a couple of weeks ago. It might even be a couple of months ago now. But somewhere in this patch of bush, and we just go a little bit ahead to make sure that there's nothing waiting to ambush us. Somewhere in here there was an absolutely enormous spider web, all made together from bits of community nest spiders. Yeah, this was it. This was where it was. This is exactly where it was. And now, very sadly, it has been completely destroyed. This is all that is left of it. Almost like a skeleton of the spider web. The spider web, when I first found it, was as tall as I was and about 3 times as wide. And now there's just patches of it absolutely everywhere. And that probably was because elephants walked through here, or one of the other large animals. This is all spots where it was. And lots of exoskeletons in this nest. And that's because the spiders, amazing little creatures, the community nest spiders, they live all together in a group, kind of, not quite like termites, I don't think that's a fair description, but it's pretty unusual for something like a spider to be a social creature. And look here, it's even extended. I go around here. Even used to extend, at least, all the way up into this branch here. And it's incredibly strong. I mean, I'm exerting quite a lot of pressure here. And it's still, I mean, I could break it, I can break it. But it's that phenomenal tensile strength. Look how stretched. Of a spider web. Spider silk. So, community nest spiders, they have little hunting parties. So what they'll do is they all live communally in these larger nest parts. So these sort of big, bulky, incredibly messy looking nests. And then they'll have a catchment web all around the outside that covers a much larger area. And that's, as its name suggests, to catch things. Look at this here. Can you see that there, Bryan? A little mini spider web in the place of where the community nest spiders used to be. And what they'll do is they'll send out little hunting parties. Oh, I'm attached here. They'll send out little hunting parties to go and collect the food that gets caught on the catchment of the web. And I think this is now a completely deceased one. They all look as though they are now no longer living. Except for this one. This one's got a completely different look. It's covered in fresh silk around the outside. And that's basically, the spiders have gone dormant for the winter, or relatively dormant for the winter. But when summer comes back again, then they will be out and about and creating a much larger catchment web. But you can see there's a very clear difference between this web here and an example of a dead community nest here. And I know this is definitely the spider's web I was looking for, because when I got out to investigate it the first time, I actually found the bits of a carcass left behind, probably by wild dogs. We never really clarified. And it's still here. A little bit... Oh, a little bit of leg bone. the joint, and quite a lot of meat still on it. Breakfast? No. Maybe not. Now, Christopher, you were wondering when we go on a bushwalk, I'm going to pop that back, it's a little disgusting. You were wondering when we go on a bushwalk how far we go from camp. It depends. We've walked all the way to the edge of Juma and back again before on a bushwalk, and we have done the opposite. In other words, walked around quarantine because that's where the signal is. So it's just a matter of, or it just depends on where it is we're deciding to go, where it is we're trying to get to. Now, I'm not going in there. I'm not going to try and, first of all, poor old Bryan would never manage to fit through all of these thick trees with his 2 meter high, well, 2 meters above his head antenna, and Bryan is tall to start with. But also it's very dangerous to go wandering through in such thick vegetation. So, Christopher, it just depends on what we're doing, where we're going, and what we're finding. And we set out with a route plan in mind, and almost invariably that completely changes. So while we go searching for more wonderful things to find you, let's go back to James, see what his decision is as to whether he's going to stay where he is or go to Cheetah Plains.
I ain't found nothing yet. Wimpy, look outside. Have you seen any leopard tracks? No. No leopard tracks, everybody. We're going to do one little loopy through here, and then we're going to head back towards Juma. And maybe we'll eventually go to Cheetah Plains. There's so many options, it's difficult to decide. Right, okay. Let's see what else we can find in the meantime. We did see some nyala while you were gone. Zoe, you say, has it ever been too cold for a drive in the history of WildEarth? Zoe, many times it's been too cold for a drive, but unfortunately, you know, our masters are such that we can't possibly say to them, we're not going on drive. There's another nice bird up there. It's a magpie shrike. Lots of them singing beautifully as the sunlight hits their faces. So Zoe, that's a bit of a facetious answer. No, you know what, it never actually gets that cold. We just complain bitterly. What a magnificent picture that is. Isn't that amazing? I think that's just amazing. That has to stick its throat out. It's a different call. Wonderful stuff. So Zoe, no, not ever cold enough. The coldest temperature we had last year was 4 degrees. That's about as cold as it will ever get out here. I have once experienced 0 degrees in this area. That's 37 or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. I've forgotten exactly. And that's not too bad at all. And then it warms up always as the sun comes up. It does start to warm slowly, and you drive slowly, and it's just really not that terrifyingly cold in this area. But certainly it's been too hot to take a drive on 2 or 3 occasions, and we had one occasion where I had a slight collapse during the heat. And Jamie then went out. She was going to do a solo drive. Oh, there's a very large animal there. Can you see it? It's a grey thing over there. Huge elephant. And Jamie went out for 20 minutes, and the camera gave a heat warning. And Jamie took the opportunity to come back in. That was in December. So hot, yes, it can get too hot for drive. Too cold? No, not really. We complain for effect. But I've got to tell you, this is the first year of my life that I've ever been grateful for winter. Every other year I've ever experienced, I've loved the summer. This year was so unpleasantly hot with so little rain. It's a very nice picture of an elephant's bottom, Wium. Every part of an animal is beautiful from Wium. That's another one of Wium's classic one-liners, everyone. There are some more just in front of us, so let's go and have a look at them. There seems to be a herd. I saw someone walking here. There. I can hear it now. You see it, Wium?
Nope.
Rest are. There's a road just up ahead, everyone. Let me go around there. And just as we go past, look at this hornbill sitting in the sun. I'm not going to stop because he'll fly off, and he looks so very comfortable there. He flew off anyway. I could have sworn I saw another 2 elephants walking down through here. There's a road over here we'll take. Let me have a look-see. We're not generally going to drive off-road for elephants. So unfortunately that might be it on the elephant front for this particular sighting. There we are. I knew I wasn't mad. See, Wium? Look at that elephant. It's a bull. And he's watching us very carefully. He's thinking about how he's going to react to us. And it's so pleasant now sitting quietly in the sun watching an elephant. That's the way to be. Just listen to what's going on around us. A couple of birds calling. There's a golden-tailed woodpecker going. And 1 or 2 francolins yelling. Yeah, it's just rather nice. It's just rather nice. Don't you feel at peace, Wium? Wium says yes, he does feel a slight sense of peace. Wium was always at peace, of course. That's probably about a 25-year-old elephant bull. Not a very old one. And he's just feeding on some... I'm sorry, the reason I'm a bit distracted is I'm listening to the radio and they're talking about Sindile. He is on elephant plains, I'm afraid, so he's got a long way from where we are able to go, but he is fine and he's got a kill. And I think it's quite interesting, you know, he does have that collar on him. It hasn't fallen off yet. And what's interesting, I think, is that people are reticent to take their guests there because of that collar around his neck. You know, they don't want to show their guests a leopard with a collar on it. I think that's quite interesting. I don't blame them. But they don't generally want to go there. This chap is about to go to sleep, I think. I think he's just had a little bit of sun on his face, and now he's thinking about going to sleep. He seems slightly embarrassed for some reason. There we go. No, he's not 25 yet, and he's also, look at his hips starting to stick out. He's starting to feel the effects of this dry season now. But I think the elephants will be okay. I hope they will. I do think everybody, this is just a slight warning to all of you who are regular viewers and who are, we hope, are going to remain regular viewers. I think that once we hit August and September, if we don't have water, I think there are going to be 1 or 2 fairly trying times where we look at animals and think, oh, that must be a terrible suffering. And while we go through that, let's just bear in mind that the animals out here for many millennia have survived these droughts and things. And we also had a wonderful example of the resilience of animals the other day. We had that, Jamie and you, had an incredible sighting of that newborn buffalo calf with a mother who seemed to be in great distress. It seemed like she was going to die. And everyone thought it was so sad and so awful and she was going to die. Went back there in the afternoon and she'd moved off with the calf. We didn't see the calf again, but if she'd died, we definitely would have seen that, and we would have seen her being eaten. And if she'd died close by, we would have seen vultures coming down, we would have found her. So, the animals out here are so resilient, and they're so able to cope with what looks like the most awful suffering. And it'll be well that we all bear that in mind as we go towards the drought season, because there are going to be lots of queries about, can we not help, should we not help, is it not a good idea to put salt licks out? Maybe we should even take the decision to euthanize animals. We just let things, the less intervention we have as human beings, I reckon, the better it will be for the animals of this area. But there are going to be some painful times for some. Let us go ahead. My head's getting quite toasty warm now, Wium. Yes, a lovely comment from a wonderful Twitter handle called I Walk in the Rain. And I Walk in the Rain, you say that baby elephant that we saw yesterday was a heart stealer. You say it stole your heart. It stole my heart slightly as well, and I hope we see him again. He was a very funny little bull. And for those of you who don't know, it was probably about a year old, if that, maybe 6 months old. And he came charging at the car, and his mother was not far, she was about 20 meters away, 60 or 70 feet, and she just kind of watched out of the side of her eye as this little boy came charging at the car. Then he'd stopped, and then he buried his face in the sand, and then he charged up again with that ridiculous look that they have. And eventually he came so close, he was less than half a foot from the car, and she thought that was enough. She turned around, she walked towards us as if to say, whoa, 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 everybody, what's going on here? And so I just started the car briefly and then turned it off again. So she stopped and she relaxed again completely, and he got a little bit of a fright and he moved away, and she kind of actually fell asleep. Looked like she had fallen asleep, her eyes shut, and the little calf then started to suckle within sort of 4 feet of the car, and it was the most amazing thing to see. Let's go down this road and see if Shadow hasn't popped out here. Right, while we do that, let's go across to Jamie, get an update from her, and then I think we're going to head back to Juba.
We're on an island, and I'll explain to you what I mean in a moment. We are freezing in the middle of the Mawati, but in probably one of the prettiest spots in all of Juba, and that's why being out on foot is always an enjoyable experience, because you get to discover the little secrets that might otherwise be hidden when you are walking along or driving along a road. This incredible patch of land, as I said, is an island, and essentially is in the middle of several different, I wouldn't really call them river systems, creek systems maybe. We are in a place that has been built up through years and years of water flowing through it. In a moment we'll go down a little bit and I'll show you exactly how it is that it all works. But we're basically at a confluence of several different creek systems or drainage line systems, and it's created an island for us to sit on. I'll just have a look here, because I've just been having the most incredible conversation with Herbert, whose knowledge is absolutely phenomenal in terms of the things that you can find out here. Now, we all know wild asparagus, or most of us know wild asparagus. We often talk about it because we often see the elephants feeding on it. They really, really enjoy it. And so this is one of the few actually remaining wild asparagus plants that I've seen on Juba. But now apparently Herbert tells me about a ritualistic use of the wild asparagus that I had absolutely no idea was. So it's essentially used to prevent flooding, stop rain. So we won't be using it anytime soon, obviously, us being right in the middle of a drought. Apparently it has to be the last born child in the family. Presumably, chances are the last born son, but the last born child will take it. Everyone will go, the rest of the family will go into the house, away from the rain, and they will take the wild asparagus and essentially move in and out of the entrance to the house, or the gate, with sort of using words to say, "Stop the rain." Isn't that absolutely incredible? Herbert tells me it's a Shangaan and a Sotho cultural belief, but it probably extends much further into South Africa as well. Right, let me see if I can... Legs dead now. Everything's so cold that nothing really works. If we just have a look at the spot that we found ourselves in. We're in a tambuti thicket. We've got a whole load of tambutis here, minus the grass that would traditionally grow in these sorts of areas, because of course they're being outcompeted by the tambuti trees. Tambutis, famous for their poisonous nature, their incredibly toxic latex. And it just takes one leaf to show you exactly what I mean by that. Let's try and pop this in the sun here so that you can see what I mean. It is the milky latex of the tambuti tree. You don't want that anywhere near your mouth, your eye. You don't want to cook on the wood of tambuti trees, or even inhale the smoke of a burning tambuti tree. Very, very toxic for us. Of course, not for everything. Herbert tells me porcupines love to come and nibble at the base of tambuti trees, and I've seen elephants feed on them, I've seen black rhino feed on them. We have a very different digestive approach, which is why it's always important, if you find yourself stuck for food and lost in the wilderness, you don't necessarily eat everything that you see animals eating, because they've got a different digestive system to us. And if you ever want to identify what a tambuti thicket looks like, or tambuti trees, nice little comparison. This is an old tambuti tree, and it's got the thick bark there with the sort of novules. Then it gets a bit more confusing, because one last quick look before we send you back across to James. This is what a young tambuti tree looks like. Look at the bark. It's completely different. Smooth and mottled. And that's just in terms of an age difference of tambuti trees. Now, speaking of ancient things, let's go over to James, who's found more elephants.
Oh, I wish you'd been here just 3 seconds earlier, everybody. These duiker were having the most tremendous fight. Bashing into each other, shooting up and down. There they go. And there are some elephants around, but I'm just going to go further forward. This is one of the rarest things you'll ever see. Yeah, they're going at it, hammer and tongs up ahead. There they go. Did you get a shot of them? That was unbelievable. They shot up into the air. Okay, so I'm glad you got the first little shot there. Anyway, they were very cross with each other, and they made the elephants a little bit cross. But there are some elephants there, obviously now standing behind some very thick bush, so I don't think we'll hang around too long with them, but let's just have a quick look. A little herd. And there seems to be some kind of fairly heavy industrial activity going on at Arathusa. So I think we're going to continue. There's very long tail hair that cow's got. Shadow's tracks apparently head west from where she was. That's further into Arathusa from where she was yesterday. And they are still following up there. All right, on we go. Hello, James Richard. A nice question from you about the difference between duiker and steenbok, and do they have different adaptations that set them apart from other animals? The answer is yes, they do. Duiker, much more water dependent, and they live in thick bush, and so they eat slightly different things. They eat more, I guess they eat more in the way of fruits, and probably, what? You see the duiker? I'll get back to you now. Well spotted. Say when, Wimpy. Is he gone again? We haven't spotted the duiker, everybody. But he seems to have gone. Okay. Should I keep going? So James, they like thick bush, they're water dependent, they're largely browsers. A steenbok is much more desert adapted, much more adapted to drier conditions, and you'll find them more in the open, not so much in the thick bush. They hide much more in the open than the duiker do, and I think you'll find that they eat probably slightly different things. They're both concentrate feeders, so they must feed on as energy-rich food as they can because they're smaller. But you probably find that there's a duiker trotting along in front of us. You probably find that they eat more in the way of the odd bits of seeds and grass rhizomes as opposed to browsing. There's the duiker there. They're very, very, very secretive, and if you were that small out here, you too would be very secretive. Like Wium and I, we're both small, we're also very secretive, aren't we, Wium? Yes. And drive slowly through here and see if Shadzo didn't pop out. And then we're going to go back towards Juma. Andrew is hailing me on the radio. Go ahead. Copy, thanks, Andrew. Is he on a kill? Talking about quarantine with Andrew, everyone. Okay, copy, thanks. Doesn't sound like he's got meat. He's on Cheetah Plains. It's quite a drive, everyone. And I'd really like to see Zara. Let's just do one. We're going to pull out of Arathusa now, as soon as we can. But we'll just do a little bit of a drive around here, and then maybe we'll go towards Cheetah Plains and see if we can see quarantine. Might be quite fun, don't you think, Wium? I just very much, I haven't met Zara yet, everyone. The rest of the crew, Jamie especially, scandalized that I have named all these young leopards after the British royal family, just because I think the names fit quite nicely. And that's why I'm actually wearing this hat, because Jamie said that she'd say the name if I promised to wear this ridiculous hat today, so that's why I'm wearing it. Now, here is Sean's vehicle, and unfortunately what's happened here is that Sean's guests have said horrible things to him, and so he's left them in the wilderness alone. And what will happen to them? Well, it's anyone's guess. We're going to go around them. In fact, let's go, we'll carry on round. Try not to get stuck in the hole here. Anyway, let's go across to Jamie, get an update from her. You can ask her about this hat.
Or you?
What do you want to talk about?
I'm looking at all these spider webs. We've left the Mawati drainage line because it's really cold in there, and we found ourselves a really nice patch of sun. And we're just going to have a look at some of the spider webs that are shining around us. Oh, The cold is making my nose run. Brian's just sneezed about 10 times. Let's see if we can't find... Where is it now? I just saw one. Just saw a really nice example of a tent web, but it just goes to show it's easy when you've got the sun behind you, but a bit more tricky when it disappears. Where did it go? Promise you there was a spider web here that I really wanted to show you. There's a spider on you. Oh yes, there is. Here we go. Bryan found us a spider. And it's an absolute... It's gone now.
It's on your hand.
It's on my hand. Oh yes, there it is. Absolutely beautiful one. Looks like it might be one of the funnel webs. But there's so many different types of spiders here that I couldn't tell you exactly which one it is. Hello buddy, there you go. Settled in the sun a little bit. Look how it's shining. It's incredible. It's got such a silver gleam to it. Can you see that? It's awesome. It's that same color as the dewdrop spiders or the kleptoparasites that often sit on golden orb web. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, spider. I've also started now. Here we go. Sorry about that, everybody. It took me by surprise. Well, isn't this chap absolutely awesome? Just judging by the shape and the design of this spider, there we go, that's actually better for him. At least he's now in a more comfortable position. He's on the grass. He's probably responsible for those fine webbing patches that you find around grass blades and grass shoots. Part of the funnel web family. I'm not sure if he is a funnel web spider or something along those lines. I think he might be though. Very, very small, what's known as chelicera, or chelicera, the jaws that spiders have, and very long. There's a noticeable size difference in his two front legs on either side versus the two back legs. The front legs much, much larger. Now how he found himself on Bryan was probably we were just wandering through and we accidentally disturbed him. But either way, he was a very lucky find. Well done, Bryan. Oh, goodness. Awesome. I really wanted to find you that tent spider that I saw from the other side. Bear with me a moment. I just want to go figure out where I saw it from. I don't know why I can't see it. I think it's because the sun's actually just gone behind a cloud and it's hidden everything from view. But I wanted to show you a really clever little thing that the spiders do. But I think I have to go back around to see exactly where it was because it was catching the light so perfectly. Where was it? Sorry, Bryan. Oh, there it is. Okay, I do see it now. And I remember why I went all the way around, and that's because to get to it is a buffalo thorn nightmare at present. After all of that, we might have to go all the way around. I'm looking at that spider web that's at the back, and it's got some really, really clever architecture. And that's what makes it so extraordinary. And it's amazing, I cannot see it from the other side at all. And I'll try and show you what I mean. So if we look at it now, the way that it's catching the light, you've got that really clear bundle of webbed debris at the top. And that is to stop things like us and elephants and birds, well, probably not elephants, but mainly birds, from blundering in and actually breaking up the web. So it's kind of a little clever thing that the spider has done to stop it from, its web from being broken and to stop it having to rebuild it all once again. And it's basically all of the rubble from the web, the rubbish, the exoskeletons, all wrapped up in a bag of silk. And we won't be able to get closer to it this way, because this is a veritable barrier of very, very sharp thorns. The wachabiki tree will live up to its name if we try and get through here. What we'll try and do, now that I've memorized where it is, and we've had this extraordinary view, is I'm going to try and go around and just have a look. How awesome does that look? Well done, Bryan. That's extraordinary. The fantastic thing about the Safari Live experience is that it actually provides you with a view that you might not ordinarily stop to get. I'm just going to go around and have a look at it from the other side, and it really does, it completely disappears. So I know where it is now. I've memorized where it is. And let me grab a stick. I want to block out the sunlight. But there you go. So this is okay, no, I'm going to upset the apple cart if I touch. Don't want to break its web. The incredible bag of rubble that I was talking about. And then our little spider. That is absolutely extraordinary. And Bryan, I don't know if you want to try come around here. Do you think you would be able to? It looks extraordinary in the sun. But from this angle you can actually see the color of this bag of things. Trying to stop down on the wachabiki, otherwise poor Bryan is going to have a very tricky time of things. So far our spider has caught a... Oh wow. Actually this is a really cool thing. Because we were talking about the dewdrop spiders earlier. We actually got a few of them, but they're absolutely minuscule. Sorry Bryan, I've got us into a really tricky patch. Oh, come on son. Come back out. You were highlighting everything so beautifully. There's actually... So we've got the... Ow. I'm attached to a tree now. This is the trickiest spiderweb patch in the world. There you go. Try not to get my head in the way or my shadow in the way. There's all of that sort of collection of web rubbish. The silk balls and bags. And there is our proud spider sitting underneath it. Now the other thing I wanted to show you, and I don't know if we're going to be able to, is this spider has acquired what we were talking about earlier, which is dewdrop spiders. Tiny, tiny little kleptoparasites that look like drops of mercury. And I don't really... There's one over there. I don't want to in any way damage the web in trying to show you them. But they're my favorite spider. If I had to choose a favorite spider, it would be the little dewdrops. The little kleptoparasites. Oh, there's lots of elephants around. I can hear them moving out in the distance. I'm just going to try and have a listen to where they are before I get too distracted by the spiders. Beautiful. Thank you, Bryan, for managing to negotiate the buffalo thorns. I'm going to go find out what those elephants are up to, make sure they're not sneaking up on us. While we do, back to James, find out what he's doing.
There's something through here. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't a leopard, I don't think. Just 1 second here, everybody. Sean, do you copy? No, nothing through there. That's kind of exactly what Wium's doing there, is what I'm trying to do myself. To sort of focus in through the dapples here. Her tracks don't seem to have crossed out of this block, but we're going to call it quits. I know I've said that a few times, but I keep thinking, one more loop, maybe we'll be lucky. We haven't been lucky at all. Oh well. It's a bit cloudy now, just over the sun, and that's making it a little cooler, amazingly. Just that little bit of cloud shading us from the sun has made things a bit cooler. It's now apparently 11 degrees, 52 degrees. Here we go, hang on 1 second. Go, Sean. No, I found no tracks here, Sean. You? No. So apparently her tracks are heading down there in that drainage line. Okay, copy, Sean. Just going to quickly tell him where I was. Yeah, no, it's actually impossible to operate on the radio this morning. There are just far, far too many people. So let's see what else we can show you that is of great interest. Like a duiker fighting with another duiker. We're just gonna, just to give you an idea of what's going on. Shadow and her little cub were in there yesterday, in this block, and they've moved off down back towards the lodge. I didn't see any tracks on the road there. It's not impossible that she could have crossed them, but you know what it's like. She could be easily in and around here, and, well, almost impossible to see. Okay, let's carry on. Let's see what else we can see. I'm just going to tell Sean we're going to pull out of the area. Sean, we're going to have to pull out of the area now. Thanks very much. I'm going back to Wertella. Unfortunately, the nasty lady has let us down. But the great joy of this is that I'm going to be able to turn that radio off, which is wonderful. I'll be able to hear myself think, at least. Then I think we shall go to Cheetah Plains, everyone, if you'd like to see Quarantine. Would you like to see Quarantine, Wium?
Absolutely.
Yes, I bet you would. This is where we saw the elephants a little bit earlier. We've done sort of a full loop around here. No sign of Shadow and Zara. It's a typical situation here where we've had so much option in the morning, didn't really know where to go. Christopher in Arizona, you want to know if we'll ever do a walk on Cheetah Plains. It's a good question. The answer is no, because the Bushwalk backpack won't function over there. So, in theory we could set it up to do it there, but that's not our arrangement with them. So, no, we won't be doing any walks on Cheetah Plains, but that's largely... There's a kudu in here. There are a few kudu in here. Just go forward, and they look like they're a little bit nervous. There they are. Beautiful shot of a baby kudu. Isn't that nice? Let's just sit here for a little while and enjoy. And in the background you can hear the white-browed scrub robins starting up. You can see how carefully they're walking under the bush there. They're nervous all the time. What's in there? What can they hear? What can they see? And if they saw Shadow, they'd go, and you know what? There's an Impala running towards them. An Impala female. I don't know why she's hanging around them. Bless you. Bless you, Wium. I see you lost a bit of focus there as you sneezed.
I'm sneezing.
No, it's difficult to sneeze with your eyes open. Very pretty. They, of course, like everything else out here, now finding it more and more difficult to eat. And they'll be eating lots and lots of dry things, dry leaves and dry pods if they can find them. But I think they're maintaining condition rather well. They don't look like their hips are showing, and so whatever they're finding to eat, it is sustaining them sufficiently. Alrighty, that was nice of him. We found an animal. Soon, everyone, I'm going to have to take this silly hat off my head. Starting to feel very silly. Every time I look at the monitor, I see this skinny pom-pom. Very nice. Hello, Yvonne. You say that I've done something to this pom-pom and it doesn't look as sleek and smooth as it does on Jamie. I think that's much more the wearer, Yvonne. I think you'll find that Jamie is just so very sleek and smooth that that's why it looks sleek and smooth on her. I am inescapably rough around the edges, and so it looks a little bit sort of ridiculous on my head. It is, in fact, Kirsten's hat, as far as I'm aware, and she thinks it looks wonderful. Thank you, Kirsten. That's very kind. Some impalas. There we go. Young impala, young female. Probably not pregnant, into her sort of second year. I think it's probably time to take off this silly hat and just have the one beanie on. Now getting another call on the radio. I don't know who's calling me. Last station, who are you calling? Go ahead. Yeah, I did drive that road, but I was live, so I'm not sure if I missed something. Oh no, this is a nightmare. This is just I'll tell you what's going on now, everybody. Copy, confirm you've got the tracks there at the tree. Okay, and no animal. I will tell you exactly what's going on. Copy, thanks very much. I might come back there. Sean's tracker, everyone, has found tracks of Shadow, and she's quite close by to where we were driving. So I'm just going to give it some consideration as to whether we should go there or not. Otherwise, let's go back to Jamie and get an update there.
Okay, so we're going to be really, really quiet. I don't know if you can hear me at all, but we're going to whisper nice and quietly. And that's because we're about probably 50 or so yards away from an elephant bull that at the moment has no idea that we're here. last few weeks. And I'm hoping he's going to continue on his mission south, because it'll give us the perfect opportunity to see him. And Herbert's done an awesome job in terms of hearing him and then walking us towards him. So we've got an awesome position. We've got a termite mound that is off to Bryan's left. So a nice spot for us to cover. We've got a buffalo thorn to hide behind. And we've got not the best view of him just yet, but he is going to start to walk out into the open, I hope. He's occupied at the moment, he's busy eating. And, even better, we've got some sun, so we can warm up at the same time. And this is the best way that, or the way that all of us prefer to do an animal approach. We could probably get closer, we could probably get a better view, but at the same time then we run the risk of disturbing him, which we don't want to do. Just a really nice, peaceful way to spend a Tuesday morning. Tuesday. But obviously, as you can tell, I'm going to try and keep relatively quiet, and hopefully he's going to move out into the open. Awesome. There's something very special about being in the presence of these giants on foot, particularly when they don't know that you're there, especially when they don't know that you're there. It's such a privilege that we have. And of course the go-away birds shouting all around us. Wium's favourite bird. Now he seems content to stay and feed at that tree for now. So we'll probably stay here in this position and just wait for him to move out into an open gap. The very important thing with something like this is to not outstay your welcome. But I'm quite content to just wait patiently for him to move around. It even gives me an opportunity to stand in the sun and warm up. I think he's going to be feeding for a while. He's obviously discovered a tree that he's enjoying. But everything in his body language tells us that he does not know that we are here. For now. So while we wait for him to finish off his tree breakfast, let's go back over to James.
We've made the decision, everybody. We're going to stay here because the tracks look good, the prospects are good. We'll see what else we can find. The quarantine might be there still, but it's such a long way from here. We've invested our time here, so let's concentrate here. Somebody said that they saw a leopard going across the road in front of us when we were live just now. I think what you'll find is that it was a duiker. I did see something flipping across while we were live, but if you if you are convinced it was a leopard, you can just reverse the stream and you'll see it again. And then if we're wrong, well, that'll be great. We'll go back to where we thought we saw it. Now, we're going to drive almost the same road again. Sounds like... Here we go. I just thought I saw a track here. No, no track. Okay. Righty. So, beautiful big green tree there, evergreen. We're going to go and stop underneath it because that is where apparently the tracks were heading. And so I'll just tell you a little bit about that tree. Now, I know many of you, of course, have just emerged from the 4th of July. And on the 4th of July, of course, one is probably prone to slight excess. Wouldn't you say, Wium? Yes. Now, if you find yourself sitting at this stage of the day with a burgeoning headache, perhaps on account of some overzealous imbibing of fine American beers, well, then this is the tree you want. Apparently, you can take the bark of the Scotia brachypetala, or weeping boerbean tree, and what you do is you crush it up and you put it into some water and you boil it a little bit and then you drink it, and the blinding headache that results from the sort of prolonged intake of delicious substances like well, fine malt whiskey or Budweiser, although I'm not sure one can define Budweiser as a fine drink. Anyway, if you have a headache from it, that's what you need. You need some weeping boerbean bark, crushed and boiled in water, and you'll be right as rain. I suspect, like just about every other tonic I've read about for hangovers, I suspect it doesn't work. I, of course, would not know, but I'm told by people who do get hangovers from excessive consumption that they have found most of these tonics and things, or methods, home methods, raw eggs and all sorts of things like that, don't work at all. I wouldn't know, of course, would I, Wium? No. Good. Good answer. Yes, you weren't listening. Yes, well, it's no good at all. Now, shadow is a termite sitter, termite mound sitter. Sorry, Heidi, I missed your question in Arizona. The Game Drive radio was yet again waffling about nothing in my ear. Oh, Heidi, you were wondering if animals get a winter coat. Yes, they do. They absolutely get a winter coat, Heidi. Not that thick in this area, because it doesn't actually get that cold. But I've noticed the kudus, especially at the moment, are starting to look particularly fluffy. The odd Impala is looking quite fluffy, but they don't get a tremendous winter coat like you might expect them to. If you might expect if you were in the northern hemisphere. So we don't have things that look like the Heelan Coo, for example. I'm going to just take a little wander down there towards that termite mound. If I see shadow, you will warn me, of course, but we're going to stay live. Wium, you will tell me if sound breaks up, will you? You can hear me now, can you? Yes, good. Let's see what happens. I'm just going to walk towards this termite mound here, but before I do that, I'm going to get an update from Sean. Sean, hello. Any luck?
No, we've got tracks coming from. There's a big boerbean over there.
Yes, I've seen the big boerbean. Okay. Are they going back east?
Yeah. But just for one. The baby's coming this way. She went back that way.
So what are you going to do from here?
Finish off here and close off on Zebra Drive, stop for a coffee.
Okay.
Reef's still walking. I'll find out from him what's going on.
Okay. All right,
He's
cool.
somewhere over here.
Okay. All right, so maybe we turn around and go back that way. Cool. Thanks, Sean. Just want to quickly have a peep down at this termite mound here. Wium, will you tell me, will you? It's that termite mound there, everyone. And the reason I'm looking at it is because, like I say, just about every single time I've ever seen Shadow, when she hasn't been walking, she's been sat on a termite mound. It's been very interesting of late with tracking Karula. Okay, coming. How's it now? Bad. Tracking Karula, everybody, what we do is we wander along the place and look into the trees, because she so often sits up in a tree. Likewise, Kanyeni down at Cheetah Plains, she does the same sort of thing. And if Karula kills something, she often puts it into a tree, which Shadow doesn't. And I think that's half the reason she is seen so much less than Karula is. It's because she's never up above the tree line. So, you know, if she's lying in shade the whole time, it's really difficult to see her. Now, we were talking about the hazards of the drought and how difficult things are out here. I'm going to put these two things on the dashboard there for Wium to look at. Now that's dung, and it's dung, there's a whole piece. It looks like it's from a kudu to me. I'll break it up and have a little look in there. But everything out here, absolutely everything, has some form of purpose that can be utilized by something else. Now what that is there, so I'm just hearing some very, very angry Franklin. Anyway, what that is the piece of kudu dung that's been eaten out by very small termites, and they've filled it with their own dung. And whether that will become the food for something else, I don't know. But every single trophic niche or food niche here has been filled by an animal or a fungus or a bacteria or a lichen or some kind of living thing. And I just find it absolutely amazing that even that little pile of kudu dung has been devoured. And that's going to be more and more the case as we go towards this dry season. Righty. I'm beginning to think we should have spent more time with that parrot earlier on. What do you think? Or the go-away bird. Well, maybe not that one. Let's just see if it is a kudu. Okay, I can't break it open. And Jamie, on foot, has got some elephants.
We have a beautiful bull elephant. Now he is in must. He did walk out nice and into the open for us. Of course, as soon as we sent you back across to James, he chose his moment. So he is a big, big boy, and he is going into must, or actually well into must. He's streaming from his temporal glands. Now what's happened now is that as we moved and changed our position a bit closer to the termite mound, he heard something. He doesn't know what he's heard. He's heard something. So he's come through to stop and investigate and have a listen before he decides what he's going to do. Now, we've just been discussing the fact that there are other elephants a little bit further to the south of us, and being a male in must, I think he might want to go and find them. The one thing that we have to our advantage is that whilst he's hearing... Oh. Did you hear that? That's very interesting. That kudu just alarm called. I better keep an eye on the elephant at the same time. There's a kudu alarm calling right here. And I think we're going to be leaving our elephant. But before we do, just quickly, Blue Butterfrog, you want to know how far they can see. The answer is they can see very, very well. Not very, very well, but they can see movement better than we think they can. Especially when it's movement-based rather than a still form. So probably at 100 meters or so, if you're moving, an elephant can see you. And the babies in particular have a very good sense of eyesight and hearing. Herbert, was it barking at you? Yeah, it barked at you. I thought that might be the case. Okay, so it was not barking at a lion or a leopard, but doing the kudu thing of barking at a human being. There goes our Ellie. He's such a beautiful bull. I'm just going to see if there's not a position we can't get a nice view from. Yeah, he's so hidden. Obviously, we're not going to push things to try and get the best possible glance of him, and glimpse of him. Especially since he is a bull and must, who tend to be a little bit more irascible than they might otherwise be. And I think he is aware of something. He's not quite sure what he's aware of yet. And now we've moved to the shade, it's even colder here. What I'm going to try and do is, I'm just wondering if maybe the advantage of that height might give us a little bit of a better view, because I think if we keep trying to go around, we're just going to keep encountering trees. So I think let's try. Shall we try, Bryan? Let's go up and onto the termite mound. It's nice and open for you, so we don't need to worry about Bryan having to duck. Oh, stand by. Okay. I was going to go up and over the termite mound, but all of those holes are very freshly used, and a surprise warthog is not something that we want either. But Herbert has found us a better view from where he is, so let's try it from there. And Shamsun, you were wondering if a kudu would alarm call at an elephant. The answer is no. It wouldn't, unless it really got a fright. If the elephant's surprised, it maybe. But it does, apparently, alarm call at a human being. Because it alarm call at Herbert. Herbert's taking us to the next termite mound. Still completely downwind. Ah, there we go. That might provide us with a very nice perspective on things. Beautiful open pathway and plenty of safe cover for us. No. Alright, we're not going to go any closer. There's another alarm call off in the distance that definitely wasn't at Herbert. We'll just wait and see. I don't think we want to go any further in. Okay, let's give us some time to just do some thinking and figure out exactly where this elephant bull is. I know there's some nice drainage line systems that I'd prefer to use as safety, but I want to know what that kudu's barking at. So while we work out what our plans are, let's go back to James.
We're going to head down towards the water at Simbambili, not Simbambili, we're not allowed to go there, of course, Arathusa. We've heard some birds alarm calling in there. I'm starting to get a little bit disheartened by this. This is not unusual, of course. Tracking leopards, an extremely difficult thing to do. We'll just see. Let's go and see what's at the water. Maybe she'll pop out for a drink. Maybe there'll be something else there having a drink. We're close to Arathusa Lodge. And Zoe, you're wondering if any water is going to be pumped into the dam, no, I don't think they can pump water in there. I don't think there is any setup for it. They do pump a few pans around here, but not many. And so, no, I don't think it's going to be pumped, and I think it will dry out. And they may then consider maybe making a pan or digging out a section of the dam and then putting a pump in there. Yeah, you know, this is where the whole big debate comes along. So that means that they will then have no animals in front of their lodge until the next rains come along. And if you've set your lodge up and put it in front of a dam specifically so that you can view animals there, well, that's an issue, isn't it? And it's the same issue that every landowner here faces. We know that if we go to the Gallagher, if we go to the Juma Dam pan, every single during the dry season, there are going to be buffalo, there are going to be elephant, there's going to be a hippo there during the dry season. We know that. And if you're running a tourism operation, well, that's kind of what you want. You want to be able to guarantee that sort of thing. And if one landowner's got a pan in front of his lodge, well, and all the others don't, well, it's only that one landowner who's going to have animals in front of his lodge. And so you have the situation where, although water is not necessarily the best thing for the ecology out here, you can't really operate this area without the tourists that come through here and pay to keep it under wildlife. So it's a little bit of a conundrum. And I suspect they're going to have to pump here if they want to maintain any kind of animal life in front of the lodge. Justin, I think your question was, are tourists allowed to collect firewood? Is that correct? Oh, set off fireworks. No, Justin, absolutely not. You may not come here and set off fireworks. If you set off fireworks here, the animals will become deeply upset. Some of them will die of fright. And so, no, you may not come here ever, under any circumstances whatsoever, and set off fireworks. Please, no. No tourists are allowed to set off fireworks in the game reserve. That would be very insensitive to the animals of this area. And I mean, I know that there's an increasing lobby amongst people and animal rights activists, especially, well, I mean, and just generally, and people who are sympathetic to animals. The noises that fireworks make terrify the wits out of pets all over the world, or certainly in countries where they're not used to the noises. And I remember my father's little dog, Trubshaw, who was a very stupid Staffordshire Bull Terrier, but he was a wonderful animal. But he absolutely used to cower whenever there was the sound of fireworks. He would go and hide, and he'd shake and shiver. And if you've ever seen an animal in that state, I think you'd find it quite difficult to set off fireworks anymore. And I know in some places they're setting off, or they've designed completely silent fireworks, which I think is quite clever. I know it's not quite the same thing as watching a rocket leap into the sky and go boom, because it really is wonderful memories I have of those sorts of things from our childhood. But I think we perhaps have to move on from that now. Nathan, you want to know what animals are going to start hanging around camp? Well, the answer is lots of animals. It's because of the camps tend to be a bit wetter, which means there's going to be more vegetation for them to drink, or vegetation for them to eat. And so you'll find elephants quite a lot around camp. You'll find, obviously, what have you got there? Ooh, a fish eagle. Let's just stop here in the sun and get a nice view of the fish eagle there, overlooking where the catfish are sort of flapping their last, if you like. There we go. Beautiful fish eagle. Pity we didn't see one yesterday, 4th of July. I suppose it is still 4th of July in some parts of the States, is it? Maybe in Hawaii. And that, I say that, of course, because the fish eagle, a very close relative of the bald eagle, the national bird of America. Oh, there's some guinea fowl as well. We'll just sneak a little bit forward and have a look at them. So, what I was knocking on about there, everyone, there's the guinea fowl. Oh, lovely sound that. Nothing like the sound of an angle grinder in the morning. It's completely normal, of course. Arathusa has to do some maintenance here and there. And They have to do it while their guests are not in camp, so that's why you can hear that noise. That is the helmeted guinea fowl. Oh, the splendid bird. What else around camp? You'll find bushbuck, nyala, you'll definitely find possibly monkeys. Baboons will start to spend an increasing amount of time around the camps looking for bits of fruit and, you know, things that they can steal from dustbins. Hyenas certainly. And there's some monkeys around this camp as we speak. VMP on top of the roof there. I think that might be the manager's house. There is a monkey sitting with his long tail. And I've just watched a whole lot of people scatter as those monkeys leapt up onto the wall below there and then onto the roof. Now monkeys, of course, can become very dangerous to people indeed, mainly because people are too gormless not to feed them. And as soon as you feed a monkey, it loses its fear of human beings, and then it tends not to want to be your friend, but it wants to bite and steal from you. Right, let's go up onto the wall. We'll try and get a little bit closer to this fish eagle. He's a rather splendid fellow. Oh, and there's also a saddle-billed stork there. Can you see him, Wium? You can see the saddle-bill, yes. Not so much the stork. Let's see how close we can get to this bald eagle, everyone. It's the same genus of eagle that your bald eagle comes from. I caused some consternation the other day by saying that a bald eagle isn't a true eagle. Well, 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 you could have sworn I had cast aspersions on people's family members. All I meant was that the bald eagle is, well, it's like a fish eagle. It's a different, it means it's a genus. So it doesn't mean it's any worse. It's just a bit different. I'm going to take my first fish eagle photograph here. It will absolutely be a blurred fish eagle. James Richard, do you want to know if they build large nests similar to those of the bald eagle? I believe that they do, James. I will try and find a picture of one. In fact, I'm pretty sure I have a picture of one somewhere. I'll have a look now quickly on my bird app. I just have to keep, you know, when I take pictures I have to avoid Wium, because what he does is he finds my efforts very amusing. So he puts the camera onto me while I'm taking the pictures, and then I become embarrassed. Right, let me find you a picture of the fish eagle's nest. Naturally, I can't find it. Come on. Come on, Henry, use your brain. There we are. No, 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 no. I'd have to go back. I'm having a dreadful time here, everyone. I'm sorry about this. Fish eagle, there we go. Somehow, for some reason, it is amongst the vultures. This is, of course, because it is not a true eagle. No, there's no picture of the nest. It is a large stick nest, usually placed on a tall tree close to water. So I imagine very, very similar to that of the bald eagle. This is a fantastic picture of him. Let's go a little bit closer and see. Wium, you keep the camera on him if you want, and if he flies, I shall stop immediately, and then you can get a wonderful flight or picture of him flying. There's nothing quite like watching a bird like this take off and soar into the sky, although soaring in the current temperature is not going to present an easy task. This is unbelievable. He's being so confiding to us. Then what will you give me if I get a picture in focus?
You can have my breakfast now.
I did get it in focus, Wium. Unfortunately, I only got half of the eagle. Justin, you want me to share my photo with you, Justin? I really don't think I should do that. It's really not a very good photo. Oh, he looked away as I took it. Come, bird. Here we go, everyone. Justin, I'm going to take one now. It's going to be world class. Birdie! Birdie, look here! Hopeless. Oh, now he's looking here. X-Ranger, nice one from you about whether or not a bird ever breaks the hooked part of its beak like this, and would it grow a new one? I don't think it would grow a new one, X-Ranger, no. I've never heard of them breaking that hook, but I mean, I suppose it must be possible. But would they grow a new one? So the beak is part of the skull, and it is a keratin covering on the skull. So the beak is actually bone underneath there. So I imagine the bone, if it broke off, would not grow. Oh, hang on, we've got wild dogs. Reports of wild dogs, everybody. Seamus, I'm at the dam. I'd like to make my way there. Where do you want me to check? Sean's just seen them. You saw those guests there. I'm just listening to the radio. I think they're going to come straight here. They were having coffee and the dogs ran straight through their coffee stop. Let's just move along here. I think they're heading this way. Let's just listen quietly. Sean, do you copy? Seamus, I'm at the dam. Where do you want me to check? Okay, we're going to go up Zebra Drive. That means I have to find Zebra Drive. Right, let's go, everybody. This is very exciting. Wild doggies. Haven't seen them for a long time. Was talking about that yesterday. Right, Zebra Drive is up that way. I think Zebra Drive is this one up here. Okay, so Zebra Drive is just up here. I wonder if they're not going to head towards the water. And apparently they went charging straight through the the coffee stop. Sean was sitting quietly, peacefully giving his frozen guests some coffee, and they were arrested by the sight of 3 dogs herring through the sighting. Wild dogs, of course, not a danger to human beings. And we've had incredible sightings of them on foot, really special stuff. Right, let's keep an idea. And you know what? As we were driving through here, Wium said, no, it wasn't right, it was through here, it was earlier on. We sort of confused the track, and I said, maybe there are dogs around. And, well, here we are. Now, the trick, of course, here is to try and watch for tracks crossing the road, listen out for contact calls, because they will make those whooping contact calls if they're on the hunt. It's quite late for them to be on the hunt. So what we'll do is we'll drive to the pinnacle of the road here, and then we'll stop. It's tremendously exciting. Right, let's stop here. Just have a quick listen. Wium, have you seen any wild dogs? No. All I can hear is an ashy grey flycatcher going. It's no good. Let's carry on. I'm going to drive relatively quickly because they do move so very fast. Now, for those of you who don't know, I don't know, we have got a few new viewers, I think, and therefore you might not have seen wild dogs before. They are Africa's wolf, and they're a very, very beautiful animal, painted brown. There they are. Yes. Yeah. Shaunus, I've got two of them here, Zebra Drive, heading in a sort of back towards the dam. They're just south of the junction with shortcut Matanduga. Three of them now. How awesome is this, everybody? Ah, wow. We are so lucky. Now, who are these dogs and where are they going? And Wesley, you want to know if wild dogs are classified as playful animals. Well, I suppose you might consider them playful. They are certainly classified as highly endangered. Let me just reverse. There we go. They're now going into the block, which is going to be quite difficult to follow. So we're going to keep going. Sturgeon's animals are now heading west into the block, north into the block, sorry, I'm trying to follow up. Alright, let's keep going here. Sean, straight in front of you there. Everybody, I will have to be on the radio just to help everyone into the sighting. Well, we did get to see them. Whether we'll see them again or not, I don't know. We do, you see, there's a balance to be had here between getting too close and making a noise and affecting their hunting. There they are, straight in front of us. Sean, straight in front of my vehicle. And apparently there is a road up ahead. So, I can just see them there. We'll keep trying. Getting ahead of us a little bit. Hold on, everyone. I know this isn't the most comfortable ride, but in order to stay with them, we're going to have to move a little bit like this through here. I can just see them in front there, and I can't really stop, I'm afraid, to get you a visual. There we go. We're going to have a quick look. A quick look there. Okay, we're going to carry on. Now there is a road up ahead apparently. Now this is one, I guess, advantage of the drought, is the fact that, well, it's a little bit more open than it might be otherwise. Wium, you're still there, are you? Wonderful. That's a relief. There, they are just in front of us there, everyone. I'm just going to stop here. I'm going to try not to make... Sean, just coming out in front of you there. Hold on, everybody. Justin, you want to know how far a wild dog travels in a day? Well, up to sort of probably 20 kilometers, 12 miles or so, but sometimes much less. If they're denning, so they've got a den with little pups in it, then they're going to travel much less far. They'll catch something, bring it back to the den, because they have to come back to the den, you see. They can't just rest where they've killed. Apparently they're coming back this way, which is a good thing, because, oh, they've run behind us. There's one behind us. Sean, there's one looping behind us coming back towards you now. They're chasing. Everyone, they are definitely chasing something here. Let's try and get around. There's a massive hole there. Not sure I can get through here. There's a warren, a whole lot of places where animals have been digging. Even if that's the last view we get, I don't know that we're going to get another view, everyone. We'll try. And there are lots of people trying to get into the sighting. They've gone herring down through there. Station on standby. I'll move out as soon as you get into this area. At the moment we have no visual. Oh, we. Oof. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to see these again. They were going at a real speed. Sorry, VMP, are you still there? Alright, everyone, I think it might be a good idea for us to go across to Jamie quickly, and then you don't have to experience the smashing around. We'll come straight back to us as and when we find them again.
How absolutely wonderfully exciting. I'm so glad that you're seeing wild dogs for the first time in quite a long time. We have a tale to tell you. We have a very interesting tale to tell you. And some brilliant work from Herbert, who has been with us the whole time. So we followed those alarm calls, and we don't know what made those alarm calls. Something, well, no, we know what made the alarm calls was the kudu. We don't know what caused them to make the alarm calls. They were on the other side of the drainage line, so we think they wouldn't have been able to see us from where they were. However, the interesting part in the tale comes in the story of our elephant friend. Our elephant friend, he was moving off. We thought we'd left him. We walked around him, and we went to follow the alarm calls until we decided to change direction and go back the way we came, at which point he exploded out of the bushes probably about 10 meters from us and ran off in the opposite direction. So what we think happened, what we think he was up to, was he was following us. He was following our scent trail, and he'd doubled back, and he'd followed where we'd gone. He didn't expect us. He was actually stalking through the bushes to get to us. He didn't expect us to do what we did, which was go and investigate the alarm calls, and then change direction. An interesting lesson in the way in which the elephants operate. So what we did was we went very, very quickly in the opposite direction and put the drainage line system that we have here, all of these river systems, it's an obstacle. And what we had to do is we had to get very quickly through the bushes to get to the other side of it. Unfortunately, it's a bit tricky with Bryan's backpack and antenna, so we had to kind of try and move the trees out of the way. So that's where we disappeared off to. An interesting experience in that it's an important lesson that you don't play around with elephants. Elephants are very clever creatures. Not that we were playing around, not that we intended to disturb him. It was just that he picked up our smell. Obviously the wind shifted, and he heard something, he knew something was wrong, and he came to find us. And isn't that an interesting little lesson in elephant behavior? I don't necessarily think he came to find us with ill intent in mind. He just wanted to know what was going on. Elephants don't like not knowing what's going on. It makes them very nervous. And that, I think, was why he responded in the way that he did. There we go. An interesting experience all around, a very interesting morning. Have a cocoon. Do you know what this might be, Herbert? No idea. Me neither. Hey. He's coming. But we need to keep going that way because he's still following us. Interesting moment. Okay, we're going to keep moving this way. The Lou Butterfrog, while we stride ahead, you want to know whether or not an elephant's sense of smell is heightened while he's in must. Yes, to an extent it is. More in the sense that he's more concentrated on what's going around him rather than a physiological effect of the must cycle. So he's just paying very much attention, stick, to what's happening. I'm quite surprised he's still following us, but then I suppose never underestimate the determination of an elephant bull. No, we're just going to keep moving away from him, give him no reason at all to want to bother us. It's happened to me once or twice before. It's happened to me with rhino. I've been stalked by black rhino before. And I've heard of it happening with lions as well, but that's also relatively unusual since we're not on their menu. So we're just going to stay following Herbert for now and just keep moving. Because we're moving rapidly, you need to just pay attention so that we don't walk out of the frying pan and into the fire, so to speak, and, you know, keep looking for the elephant and accidentally walk into a buffalo. Oh, buffalo thorn, which we don't want. Try and move those out of the way for Bebop. And so off we stride. Now hopefully, if we keep putting distance between us and him, he will eventually lose interest and decide to leave us alone, which I'm hoping he might do. We've still got the drainage line system between us, so we're fine. Don't stress, guys. It's just one of those things. We're just going to keep moving. While we do that, let's go back to James.
Hello everybody, what we've done, they have found them again inside here. We're going to leave the sighting. There are 7 people trying to get into the sighting, so we're going to pull out. We got the best chase through here in this very thick block. So we don't want to overcrowd them, and that's why everybody's quite sensitive about it. We're just going to move our way, I think, out of the area now. Well, that was quite fun, wasn't it? Doesn't always happen like that. I think we got by far the best view there. Brilliant. Good start. I've taken my jacket off, Wium. I was so hot with all that driving. I'm sorry, Michael. I'm really struggling to hear you now. That's why the aerial's fallen down. Kirsten, try again. Oh, right. Michael, you say, do wild dogs have larger hearts to deal with the amount of running that they do? I don't think they've got proportionately larger hearts than, say, other dogs, but they may well have proportionately larger hearts compared with the cats. Yeah, they probably do. I don't know. That's a really nice question. I'm not sure what the state of their hearts are. What we're going to do is we're going to do a very surreptitious loop back around towards the Arathusa Dam, mainly because I think these dogs are going to end up there. I think they're going to hunt in here, and I think they're going to turn around, and I think they're going to go back to the dam. And so while everybody is knocking about inside the block here, in amongst the impenetrable strychnos thickets, we'll be quietly arriving at the dam when the dogs do. Alternatively, find the Anderson male sitting over here. Then people will be
Does. We'll watch. Okay, so unfortunately James's signal is relatively bad. So you've come back to us on Bushwalk. We're just going through this dip. Bear with me 1 second. Herbert's going up a little bit ahead. We just want to make sure that he's not trying to block us by walking up along the drainage line. And it's quite funny when you think about it, because it's like he said, well, if you're going to sneak up on me, then I'm going to try and sneak up on you, which he did very successfully right up until we changed the game by changing direction. Nevertheless, we do just want to get to the other side of the slip before he has a chance to find us, especially because it's quite open without all that much cover. We don't really want to see him coming striding down that drainage line right now. Justin, you're wondering what it feels like to be stalked by an animal. It's humbling. I think that's probably the best way of describing it. It's humbling because you, especially in a situation like that where I honestly thought he knew that something was up, but that he wasn't too bothered by it and that he was going to move off. It's humbling to know that he wanted to come back and investigate. It's a lesson on the animal's intelligence. It's not a threatened feel. It's a wary feel, certainly. You've got to be careful. You don't underestimate them. But it's not a terrifying thing. It's just an important reminder that this is their home, their environment, and they're much better at it than we are. In this case, for a 5-ton elephant, he did a marvelous job of being very, very stealthy, which is why we're being so careful now and continuing to move up the hill to just get as much ground as possible between us and him. Unfortunately, he's between us and home, so we're just trying to cut around him as quickly as possible. Whew. Bit more of a rapid stroll than I think we originally intended. It's a herd of Impala moving away from us. Now usually we try and move around them without disturbing them, but because we want to keep moving, there's lots of ox pickers about. And because we want to keep moving, we're just going to keep pushing forward and just move away from him. Especially if he's going to try and cut a diagonal line up towards us. I don't think he's going to. I think we've done enough in terms of putting the distance between him and us, I hope, and that he'll start going back towards the rest of the elephant herd. We'll just keep on going and keep on looking. Luckily we've got an extra set of eyes in the form of Herbert. Now Michael, on our subject of our musk bull and his interesting behavior, you're wondering if cows in estrus are more unpredictable than bulls in must. Michael, cows flat out in general are that side. There's lions roaring now. Off in the distance. Cool. That was off. That sounded like it was off the property. The call of the lions there. So Michael, cows in general are just more dangerous even than a bull in must. Are they more unpredictable? Probably not, no. Even cows in estrus. The estrus cycle doesn't really make them moodier. Certainly makes them quite noisy. They do the estrus walk. But you've got to be far more concerned about the cow with a young calf, or an older female in the herd that is responsible for the safety of an inexperienced cow and a new calf, or something along those lines. But that's not unpredictable. That in fact is very predictable, because they let you know exactly how they're feeling.
Sorry about that, everybody. I'm not sure why Rusty's decided to give up the spook around here. She's normally so very good. Anyway, we're going back towards the Arathusa Dam now, and I think we'll probably be okay. It sounds like those dogs killed a steenbok, so they'll be not coming down to have a drink then. We'll probably have to make do with Shadow and Zara down by the waterhole there. What do you think, Wium? I think we'll be okay there. Well, we also did have tracks of a very vast male leopard and a relatively small male leopard. Pretty sure it was Sindile going up towards the north, towards Elephant Plains. And then I think the very big one is probably the Anderson male or Tingana. But most likely the Anderson male, because they are, I mean, they look like a lioness's tracks. Now, the Anderson male, for those of you who don't know, a male we've only seen twice, I think, on Safari Live. And he is an absolute bus. He's probably a 90 to 95 kilogram male leopard. He really is massive. And his border is right on our kind of western border. And that's why we don't see him very often. But his tracks, I mean, the tracks of, comparing them with the tracks of Sindile were unbelievable. Sindile, of course, now not yet 2 years. And, I mean, he's noticeably bigger than a female leopard. But compared with this monstrous fellow, the Anderson male, well, wouldn't like to meet him in a dark alley. You wouldn't like to meet him in a fully lit alley, in fact. Spiders. Right, let's go back towards the water here. Right, Arathusa Fox, an astonishing name for a Twitter handle. You say, do wild dogs eat more than lions and leopards? Excuse me. And if they do, how does it affect the herbivore populations of an area? Arathusa Fox, they don't, I don't think, proportionately eat too much more. They probably eat a little bit more because they do have to move a lot further, and they do move a lot further. But I don't think you'll find that they eat proportionately vastly more than the other predators. How does it affect the herbivore numbers? I don't think very much at all. Again, they kind of self-regulate, because if there's not enough to eat, then their numbers will dwindle anyway. So I think they probably do keep a certain amount of control on the herbivore populations. Let's have a proper good look at that saddle-billed stork quickly. But I think you'll find that, they will kind of self-regulate in line with herbivore numbers. But because of the way they kill, and because of the frequency with which they kill, but they were certainly considered by many for a long time to be vermin, and that's why they were targeted and shot so very often, and that's one of the reasons they are so rare, is that they were shot as vermin at one stage. And now the peace ensues. Beautiful saddle-billed stork with his friend Jippo the goose. It's not really called Jippo, everybody. He's just an Egyptian goose. I think it's very sweet that they've made friends, don't you, Wium? Mm-hmm. It's a lesson for us all, really, isn't it?
That's telling him something.
It's a goose, but yes, it does look like he's telling him something, and doesn't look like the stork really wants to hear it. Over there, look there. I don't see it. No, but there. Where? There. There! Look! Now they obviously eat completely different things. Let's go back to them. Find out if they make friends anymore. That bird there apparently is supposed to only eat algae. I've seen them eating fish. There, oh, he just voided his bowels. Over there. But maybe over there. Not sure. Could be over. Oh. No, not there. There. That's enough of that. Okay, let's have a look at the fish eagle too. It's also sitting around here. And they eat totally different things. The stork is after fish, much the same as this fish eagle, which is just looking to the left-hand side because I'm very sure Shadow and Zara are about to arrive here. I'm obviously talking rubbish, everyone. I don't know what's going to happen with Shadow and Zara. We'll just ease our way into place here. Look, Wium. You see behind the fish eagle. I hear a great racing of vehicles. This will be because people are trying to get to the wild dog sighting. Ha 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 ha. We've already been. Ha 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 ha. Why is it... Oh, there we go. I think I got a picture. Unfortunately, Wium, you are looking at the bird, aren't you? No, you're not looking at my picture. No, man. Isn't that incredible? Look at the beak. That incredible beak. And just behind it there was a grey-headed sparrow, which I think has moved on. That's rather a splendid shot of that fish eagle. Just surveying the landscape. Most of the big fish in this dam are catfish, and the catfish will be too big for this fish eagle to eat. Almost certainly. Right, let's move on from here. We'll just quickly find Shadow and then go home for breakfast. I think you'll find, I'm just going to sort of tell you this for as much as it's valuable for Kirsten's information, and Wium can agree or disagree here. If the Bushwalk backpacks had to be rebooted once or twice, those batteries won't last the whole drive. Correct, Wium?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's what's happened there, Kirsten. I don't think it's a major technical fault. That was so exciting. Wesley, a very good question from you. I'm not sure, have we heard from you before, Wesley? It's very nice to hear an unusual name. Well, not an unusual name in the context of names. It's not quite as unusual as Pinchy Winer's hat, for example, but I'm not sure that we've heard from you before. And, oh, there's a Swainson spurfowl. While we look at that, you want to know how often we see Shadow. Of late, really not very often at all, Wesley. She's been spending a lot of her time down on Hoffman's, which is a part of this reserve we're not allowed to go. And so that's why we haven't been seeing her much. And I think also, you know, she's been keeping the cub down there and not moving on to Arathusa much, which is where we normally see her. And the other thing is that the female to the south of there, whose name was Quatile, has died, and that has left the area to the south slightly vacant. And so I think she's expanded rather to the south, and I think that's why we're not seeing her as much as we used to. Very nice. Swainson's spurfowl. Franklins always look so surprised by life, I find. I find it very entertaining to watch them. Well, now, Michael, you're asking a question that is going to open up all sorts of worm cans. You say, is it possible that something has happened to Tingana, given that the Anderson male doesn't seem to normally come this close to Arathusa? It is possible. I don't think it's likely, though. You know, these male leopard territories are massive, which means that if Tingana is, for some reason, concentrating his activities on the eastern side of his territory, which he might be, given that the Gijima, that skittish male leopards around there, Mvula's been back in town for a while, quarantine's been knocking about there, you might find that he's just spending time there marking. And, you know, as long as he's absent from this area, well, then the Anderson male will incur further and further east or west, at least east, yes, east, onto the western boundary of Tingana's territory. And so that's, I think, probably all that's happening there. That could have been Tingana, though. It wasn't necessarily the Anderson male. It just looked really enormous, didn't it, Wium? We both thought. Wium says, absolutely frightening. He does have a frightening look about him, the Anderson male. Anyway, let's see. I think he probably headed back towards the western side of where he is. Elaine, you say, what animal gives me the most excitement besides leopard? Well, I mean, Elaine, I would have thought that was clear. The wild dogs I just find too wonderful. I think they're just the most spectacular animals to watch, and I could watch them all day long. So definitely wild dogs, Elaine. But, you know, then we have a sighting like we had yesterday, that unbelievable sighting of elephant, young elephant calf rushing towards us, and that left me feeling really most inspired and excited. But I would have to say it's probably wild dogs. There is an elephant. Jono, you say you're dying to get a long talk about a termite mound. Jono, when you say we, is that the royal we, or do you mean the Twitter sphere in general? I can certainly do that for you, Jono. Let's find a decent termite mound. I think actually we should drive. We can get through on these power lines, can't we? We're going to drive along here because it's the one place that I don't think they've looked for shadow. So let's just scoot along here and see if we don't get very lucky indeed. And Melissa, you want to know what termite mounds are? Well, okay, let's do a lengthy section on termite mounds. Termite mounds, Melissa, I will find a decent one. Stop, and then we'll show you to you. Are the homes in which termites live, and they're huge mounds, castles of clay, famous throughout Africa for their size, their hardness, and their sort of they change the landscape. And termites, termites, for those of you who don't know, they make up a greater amount of biomass per unit area than do the above ground herbivores like elephants and nyala and all the antelope species that we have here. So there are a massive number of termites around. So I will tell you about it. But for the moment, let us just drive through here carefully and see if we do not spot the dappled pelage of Shadow and her baby. I've yet to meet. I haven't met her baby yet. She's been very reticent about introducing us, which I feel is not fair. The mother has been very kind, introduced us to her daughters, at least her son and her daughter, regularly over the last little while. This is not a particularly salubrious piece of road, is it, Wium? No. There's the elephant in front of us. There are two elephants in front of us. And still looking in the shadows here. This is a young bull elephant. Oh, don't get crossy. Come on. We just want to look. He's not coming into must. You see how he's flopped his trunk over his tusk like that? That's indicative of an elephant coming into must. Must, of course, a period of heightened testosterone levels where male elephants feel a deep sense of frustration because they're trying to mate, and it's no easy feat for an elephant to find a mate. Is he chewing something there, Wium?
Sounds like it.
Either that or he's grinding his teeth. Doesn't look like he's coming into must. I can't smell anything. He's probably about a 25-year-old bull. He's getting to the stage where you'd be fairly wary of him if he turned around and looked at you like that. Now watch him digging. This is amazing. Now what he's going for is the roots of that bush willow tree. Isn't that amazing? He's seeing if he can find some tubers, and he'll break off pieces of the roots of the bush willow. And people often ask, what is the point of an elephant's toenails? And I think the answer probably is in the digging. Now look at that. This is fantastic. See, now the roots, of course, are where these animals, or not these animals, these plants store their nutrients. Which means if you're an elephant, that's a rather good source of nutrition, like a carrot, if you like. Just much harder and less tasty. And you'll see, I think you'll probably find he's not eating the whole thing. He's probably just chewing off the bark. Look at that trunk, it's so dexterous, it's like a little hand. He keeps missing his mouth. There we go. Let's see if he swallows the whole thing or if he just chews the bark off the side of it, the outer layers. He's just snapping it. Now that, for you and I, everybody, would not be easy to snap. No, he swallowed it. He swallowed the whole thing. That's interesting. I really didn't think he'd do that. That will pass through his digestive system almost completely intact. Hello, Krishna. Nice to hear from you. You say, why does the skin of an elephant look very dry? Krishna, does it look very dry? I think it's just because it doesn't have any fur on it. It's not oily at all, but I don't think it's dry. It's probably, you know what it is? It's the fact that it's so wrinkly, I think, and often it's covered in dust, and that's why it looks so dry. But I don't think it's any drier than any other skin, and I know it's not waterproof, and that means it also doesn't have any sweat glands. And so maybe that's why it looks a little dry. They never sort of sweat. Maybe that's what it is. Wium, do you think it looks noticeably drier than any other animal? I suppose it does because of those wrinkles and the dust that they throw on themselves. Tremendously patient. You have to get some upward of 300 pounds of food into your body in a day, and that's how you have to eat it. Obviously quite likes that root. And he's swallowing it in its entirety. He's not just taking pieces off it. We will have to have a taste of that, don't you think, Wium?
Yeah, cool.
Well, we won't go and get it now, obviously. But I know how hungry you get. Did you bring a snack?
No, it's fried breakfast, so I'm waiting.
Oh, I see. Is it fry at breakfast? We have fry at breakfast today, everybody. Wium has very abstemiously not brought himself a picnic on drive. Look how that elephant's balancing. Sorry, I just wanted to show you I was balancing the last bit of root there in the trunk. Oh, you can't really see it through that branch. But look there, just underneath there, he's balanced the last piece, which he's now going to eat. Or maybe not. Marvellous. Amazing, amazing trunk. He's watching us, you know, he's thinking about what we're doing. Thinking about whether we're a pain or not, whether we're just observing, whether he should move on to have some water now, how long he's going to have to eat for continuously. And there he's smelling us. And now, you know what, Wium, if you can get in on his trunk there. We had a comment earlier, do elephants, not today, but a few days ago, do elephants get colds? Do they get mucus in their trunks? Do they ever get blocked noses? Well, this elephant has got mucus dripping out of his nose. I'm not saying that that means he's got a cold, but certainly they do have mucus leaking out of their noses. Listen to that, crunching away. There, you see, they don't like the very thick ones. They like the thinner ones. Yeah, now you see, now a very nice observation here from Anna Marie. And Anna Marie, you say that short-trunked female that we see. This is going to be amazing. Look at this. Look at this. Unbelievable strength. Jeepers. No ways. That noise you heard, everybody, was him getting rid of a little bit of excess gas in his bottom. That was very impressive, fellow. That really was. Anna Marie, you say we watched that elephant cow with the bottom third of her trunk missing, and you say watching this chap with that very dexterous sort of end to his trunk, it's a prehensile trunk, it's like a hand, and surely she must be disadvantaged. Absolutely she is. There's no question. You can see how he uses those little fingertips at the end of his hand trunk all the time. But she compensates, and the animals out here do compensate. It's incredible. In much the same way that you know, you've got 5 fingers on each hand, I'm assuming, Anna Marie, unless you've been a victim of some sort of accident. But if you were to lose 3 fingers from both hands, you'd still survive, you'd compensate, you'd find some other way of picking things up and opening jars and doing things around the place, and that's exactly what happens with an elephant. You know of many people, of course, that are missing bits and pieces of their bodies tragically, and they manage to get by. And it's the same thing with an elephant, and yes, it definitely has an effect, and I doubt she'll live as long as some of the older elephants, because there will be an element of stress involved. Wonderful stuff. In the background, the black-backed puffback going. It's warmed up rather nicely, hasn't it, Wium? Alright, I think we're going to leave this fellow. We'll carry on down this sort of little road here and see if we don't get very lucky with Shadow and her little cubby, who could well be in that sort of thicket down to the left of us. Anyway, let's have it. And bye, fellow. Thank you very much for that. No, 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 I'm saying thank you. There's no need to get upset and ornery about things. Enjoy your roots. Now there's a very, very large bull on the road here. I'm not sure we'll get past him without having to execute a maneuver. I wonder why they're all on the power line here in this open area. It must have something to do with the openness. Kathy, while we approach this fairly large fellow, you say is cow dung used more frequently than elephant dung for hut building and roofing and flooring and plastering? Absolutely. There are no elephants outside of the reserve, Kathy. So people are not allowed to come in and collect elephant dung. So absolutely they use cow dung far more than elephant dung. Elephant dung is actually too thick. Doesn't have that very sort of soft consistency of or smooth consistency of buffalo or cow dung. Let's just stop here for a second. This chap is going to sleep, and you can see his spine sticking out the top of his back there. Yeah, it's tough times ahead for these fellows. Increasingly difficult to find 300 kilograms for a very big bull, so I'm saying, you know, for a bull like this, probably about 200 kilos, which is about 440 pounds of food on a daily basis. That's a huge amount. I think we're going to have to go forward because I think he's going to sleep. In fact, he may well be asleep. Could you move a little? Is that all right? Okay, well, we're going to try and go past you. No, there you are. I'm going to give you the opportunity to move. You're just swaying slightly. Let's see if we can get past him. He might take offence, but he's quite young, so I hope he won't. It's the older ones who tend to take offence a bit more. Just relax, we're fine. We're just going to go straight past you. You're going to be able to relax and eat your breakfast. You can go back to sleep in just a few seconds. There we are. Good fellow. Sorry about that. There we are. It's very nice. You wouldn't do that. You would not do that with a 45-year-old bull. Hello, Tom in Scotland and Bonnie, Scotland. How nice to hear from you. You say, why are there areas that we're not allowed to traverse? Well, the Sabi Sand, which is the sort of overarching collection of private reserves that we're in, is 60,000 hectares, and each of it is parcelled out to various landowners, and them landowners have got various complicated relationships between each other, and sometimes those are good relationships and sometimes they're bad, and usually with a traversing arrangement comes quite a lot of money, and so there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of ego, there's a lot of cash involved in how these farms are arranged around each other and who's allowed to go where, and also there's a large amount of not wanting too much activity on your own property. So if you've got a piece of land here, you don't want 40,000 or, you know, I don't know, 45 vehicles driving onto it because there's a leopard sighting. So people like to limit the amount of exposure their land has to vehicles, mainly because they want their guests to have the most private experience possible. So those are some of the reasons. I mean, there's a lot of politics involved, a lot of big ego involved, but also there is the element, absolutely the element of making the experience as private as possible for your guests. So, for example, we were on Arathusa today. Elephant Plains was here. I think Simbambili was here as well, and the Arathusa guys and us. So with that wild dog sighting, you'll find that I think it would have been 9 vehicles eventually went through that sighting, only 3 at a time. There was never more than 3. But it does mean that, can you imagine if it was open to everybody, we'd have had, because wild dogs are so rare, we would have had the Juma vehicles, we would have had the Buffelshoek vehicles, we would have had the cheetah planes and the chitwa guys as well, and you can just see very quickly it would become an absolute, not to be too amusing, it would become an absolute dog show very fast. And so that's why they have these complicated arrangements. And there are various thoughts that we should cancel them, that anybody should be allowed to go anywhere, but you're only ever allowed 3 or 4 vehicles through one sighting in a drive. So, for example, if wild dogs get called in here, it's much easier to just drive from miles to show your guests these dogs than it is to try and find your own. And so if you make it a rule that you can only have 4 vehicles through a sighting in a drive, then it makes it, I think people will spread out. And I think that would be actually a really good way of doing it. So you can drive anywhere you like, but only 4 vehicles per sighting per drive. And I think that would solve that problem almost immediately. But then, of course, we do come to the, well, you know, the very human... Whoa, sorry about that, Wimpy. We do come to that very human side of politics and ego, especially where land is concerned. Thank you, Tom. Right, we're going to turn back east towards Juma, really this time. I know I've said that about 8 times today on our little search for shadow, but we got some wonderful other sightings while we were doing it, so we shan't be too sad that we didn't see the leopard. And there are some Impala, Wium. We shall go past them because I don't want to delay or fry up breakfast. Wium, when are we going to shave your beard?
No, I'm not a shaver dude.
But what about the Paul Kruger look?
This is like 3 months of growing, you
I know, it looks like about 3 months of growing. You look rather like you've got a sheep attached to the front of your face.
know.
A red sheep, yes. And the hair? Are you ever going to cut that, or are you going to leave that as well?
I'm saving up money.
Hmm?
I'm saving up money.
You're saving up money? Well, I could cut it for you. We could just shave it off, and then you'd have an enormous beard and a shaved head, and you'd look terrifying. You'd look like Ragnar Lothbrok from Vikings.
Yep.
Hmm.
Get an Impala skin.
Yes, yes. In fact, I think would be a really good look for you. I think Wium the Viking would be an excellent look. He really has grown himself quite an impressive amount of hair. Hello, Jen. You're interested in whether Jamie and the Bushwalk crew are okay. I thought very strongly, briefly, about spinning you a yarn about some danger that they had befallen them, but they're absolutely fine. Their battery ran out. It's nothing more exciting than they ran out of batteries. So they're probably at home sipping coffee, smelling the lovely, lovely smell. Lovely, lovely smell of Amanda's cooking. Blue Butterfrog, you said something about the Bushwalk, which I'm afraid I missed because I was talking rubbish. Oh, Blue Butterfrog, you say you hope they get first dibs on breakfast, the Bushwalk crew. Well, they do, because they went home early and haven't worked very hard. So yes, they will get first dibs on breakfast. After Connor, yes, after Connor the engineer, who eats more than any man alive. Which is quite astounding. You'd expect him to be an explosively fat human being, but he's rather chiseled. Blue Butterfrog, I really don't think that the Bushwalk people should have first dibs. They've wandered about quarantine once or twice, and then they've gone home, as far as I can tell. Hey, Wium?
Relaxing life.
No, it's very relaxing, yeah. All they do, you see, is take a slightly different angle next time when you come to them, and then pant a bit, as if they've been walking a long way. In fact, we'll probably not find any eggs and bacon left by the time we get home. more mushrooms. And Justin, you want to know what is for breakfast? I'm assuming today being Tuesday, the Tuesday fry will consist of bacon and eggs, possibly some mushrooms and tomatoes. Wium, well, you will have toast with that, will you? No?
Big bread,
Okay. I will have probably some bird seed with that, and definitely a very strong cup of very pleasant tasting black coffee. Yum. Wium will have a... Yes, Wium will have a disgusting concoction, lukewarm concoction of cocoa and cream. Ugh. With sugar. Yes. And lukewarm. Why not hot, Wium? Because it's half cold cream and half hot water. Ergo, it must be lukewarm. Dreadful. Dreadful stuff, everyone. Now, I think what we'll do this afternoon, I'll probably be on Bushwalk this afternoon, so if I deign to leave quarantine clearings, we'll come around here, because I think Karula may have left her youngsters around here somewhere. We might be lucky there. And I'm going to encourage Jamie to do the same, unless she goes off to Cheetah Plains to try and see those, or to see if quarantine is still there. There were also some cheetah threatening to come towards Cheetah Plains, so maybe that's what she'll do. And Michael, you want to know why that area is called quarantine? Well, it was once an area where they bomered. In other words, they kept species or animals they were introducing to this area, they kept them on there in a sort of enclosure in quarantine for a while before they were released into the reserve. It's not a very romantic name for a very, very pleasant part of the reserve, in the same way that quarantine isn't a very romantic name for the quarantine male leopard. And this is why, you know, I think my naming of George and Charlotte and Skinny Pom Pom the lion is really not, I think, much infinitely better than quarantine. There is Karula's favourite tree. She's not in it. We're going to go round the corner here and then stop. Ooh, ooh. Red-crested kohan, everybody. And there were two of them. We very seldom see them, and they only see them like that when they're mating. Huh, interesting. Okay, everybody, that's going to be it from us. Thank you, Wium, for your efforts today. Big thank you to Kaz McLennan Smith and the final control. She was being helped by Louise Pavid, as far as I can tell. And, of course, Jamie Patterson for the 3.5 minutes that she did around quarantine clearings with Bryan. We will see you this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Stay safe and happy wherever you are. Bye-bye.